just accumulating assets, right? But there's 3 phases to wealth, which I've realized and which I've been doing a lot of research on and a lot of homework on. And so the first stage of building wealth is what we call the wealth creation stage, the stage where we are learning how to get assets, learning the difference between certain assets, right? This is the wealth creation stage. We're understanding what it takes to build wealth, right? What it takes to build wealth, right? The creation stage. We started from nothing. A lot of us started from nothing. A lot of us have been, wealth deprived, right? We've fallen under the same system, right? With the lack of information. We understand that poverty is a lack of information more than it is a lack of money, right? And let's dig down into this wealth creation stage on what it takes. So one of the things we got to do in the beginning is we have to create new habits, right? And we know this, we've heard this before, but what are wealthy habits? So we cannot, listen to me when I say this, we cannot defeat what we cannot define, right? In order for us to build wealth, we got to tap into what is it that's stopping us from creating wealth. So we cannot defeat the poverty mindset if we cannot define what it is that caused it. Are you wired for wealth? So how do we understand that? Your financial status now is compatible to your comfort zone. So in order to get in the phase of wealth creation, we have to get out of our financial comfort zone. Is the reason why you are or are not prospering or creating wealth. For me, one of the reasons why I was able to start my journey was because I was personally willing to do more with less. Because I was willing to do more with less, I was willing to invest more. So I withstood the temporary hardships and I thought the bigger picture. I want you to say something right now. There will always be enough money. Why will there always be enough money? Because they print it. So wealth creation is easy. Wealth creation is easy because there will always be enough money. All right, check me out. Let's double down on that. There will always be enough money because, check this out. Assets flow abundantly. We're taking worthless money to acquire valuable assets. So we understand that money is the means of exchange. So the value isn't truly in the money. The value is in whatever we are exchanging it for. Here's why the money is worthless. If you have in your bank account right now, if you had a balance of negative $10,000, what would it take for the money in that account from red to green? Because as of right now, the money that you put in is no good because you're $10,000 in the red. So in order for that money to become good, you need $10,001. The reason why the money is worthless is because America is $30 trillion in debt and counting. Why and counting? Because they keep printing money, right? They keep printing money. But because we're in America, there's a reason why the wealthy people of America, check me out, they're plus overdraft fees, correct. And they don't even pay overdraft fees on the money they owe, right? There's a reason why the wealthy people of America continuously builds wealth over and over. And there's a reason why 1% is richer than 99%, right? There's a reason why 1% is richer than 99%. Because here's what 1% realize. Here's what the 1% realize. If you go look at the wealthiest people in the world, you will see that they all have one thing for sure in common. The one thing for sure that all the wealthy people have in common is this: 70 60 to 70% of their wealth is tied to assets and not money. When we look at companies on the stock market, when you hear Apple has $290 billion of cash sitting on the side, if you really took a deep dive, you'll see that of that 200 and something billion dollars, only 30% of it is actually in cash. The other 70% is in bonds and other assets that are due in a year or less. Why? Because the money sitting in the account is doing them no good. It's losing value. So what they do is they take that money and do overnight bonds or short-term bonds so they can at least get 1 or 2% on the money. If they can get 1 or 2% on the money, then that money is steady accumulating for them instead of the 30% that's just sitting there, right? Also, they invest in other things. So therefore, the 200 and something billion that you see Apple have sitting in cash is not necessarily sitting in cash. It's in overnight bonds or short-term bonds, but it's considered a cash equivalent. So when we look at people like Elon Musk, 80% of his wealth is tied into Tesla stock. This is why you can see him lose 400 million in a day and make 2 billion in a day. Why? This is why he went from being worth 20 billion to 200 to wherever he worked now in a 1 year time span, is because Tesla stock ran up and then it split and it ran up again. Because he owns that much of Tesla, his personal wealth is tied to the stock. Let's dig into the wealth creation. In order for us to create wealth, the first thing we got to do is this. Hear me out. We have to identify what wealth looks like to us. The wealth has to have an identity. If your wealth doesn't have an identity, it will diminish. Listen, the first stage is so important. The first stage of building wealth is the wealth creation stage is so important. We can't get to the next stage, which is accumulation of wealth, and we can't get to the third stage, which is preservation of wealth, until we first tackle the first stage, which is wealth creation. So many people teach so many different things. You trying to gravitate to everything at one time, you're not gonna make it happen. Right? So when people come to Trap, what do you look like? Well, for me, wealth is one, majority of my wealth will always be in the stock market. That's for me. I can handle the risk and everything that come with that. My savings account is the SP 500. That's a savings account for me. So that's a plan and pillar that I'm gonna pass down in my family SOPs. Right? But you may ask Matt, the mortgage guy, and he may say, well, for me looks like more real estate than stocks. So let's talk about some of the things, the mindsets that we got to break. Right? So I'm gonna tell you one of the most traumatic experiences that we've all had with money. Putting your money in a savings account or putting your money in the bank. That is one of the most traumatic experiences you can ever have. This is one of the most traumatic experiences that you can ever have. So the first thing you do is you trade your most valuable asset, which is time, for a depreciating asset, which is money. Right? I want you to understand that money is a depreciating asset. Trap, what is a depreciating asset? A depreciating asset is an asset that continues to lose value, so it's no longer an asset. So if we understand that money is a depreciating asset and time is the most valuable asset, right? They've put us in a situation where we've given up our most valuable asset for a depreciating asset to put it in a bank or institution that leverages our money that we worked hard for. The bank leverages the money that you work hard for, give you pennies on a dollar, and the bank can take your money and make millions, and then charge you a fee charge you a fee if you, one, spend too much money. So at this point, the bank now makes more money off your money than you. When you've put in the hard time and work. And then here's the dope part. While they're making money, because once you put the money in there and once you sign up for the bank account, you legally give them the right to use your money. When you go to the bank and put your debit card in there and it gives you a balance, it's only giving you a digital balance, because the money that you say is they say is not really there. The bank, by law, fractional reserve banking, can use 90% of your liquid cash as long as they leave you with 10%. So if you put $1,000 in there, by law, they can take $900 and leave you with $100. By law. Let's get even deeper. Once they lend the money out, the money that they have on paper saying that your money is there is actually losing value because they printing more money. Which is why if you look at the stock market today, they say inflation went up by 7%. That means the money in the bank has lost value. That means everything now costs 7% more than what it costs. Which is why used cars went up, homes went up, goods went up. Which is why now the Federal Reserve is saying, yo, we got to do rate hikes. Well, why do they have to do rate hikes? They have to do rate hikes now to now try to stabilize the dollar, because inflation has went up so much because they printed so much money. 40-something% of the money in circulation right now has been printed in the last 2 years. Let's go back to why the first stage of wealth creation, the first stage of wealth is so important. Wealth creation. Because you got to understand the toxic relationship and the bad ideology that you picked up about money. So once we understand now that the money in the bank is probably the worst thing we can do with our money. This is why I personally I only have a little money in the bank. Majority of my money now and for the last has been in the stock market. Why? My savings account is the VOO. Chap, why is your savings account the VOO, chap? Because it's not an investment on one particular business. I am now investing in 500 businesses, the 500 best businesses in America that's public. And last year, I made 27% on my money. It's not bad. Well, Trap, what do you do when the stock market crashes? Well, because I was only going to get 0.01% if my money sat in a savings account. If the market goes down, I'm going to keep putting my money buying the equity. Statistics show that after every market crash,